Continuing on with the implementation of our stencil brush, here we are in part 2.
Right. Now, we're going to go and revisit our noise brush to start off with. And I had closed this out, so I need to open it up again. Now, the cool thing is we've got the sample code in place. Basically, this is getting our width and getting our scale based off our sample point and our brush size and readjusting our sample point to fit within our texture space. Then we take that information, we use it to get our pixel information, then return that as a sample, multiply by opacity, and return all this out. The cool thing is, this is exactly what we need over inside of our stencil brush. So I can take this, replace it, put that in, and that takes care of our sample code. So if I go through and check everything, we should be able to see a stencil brush on our screen. So let's go ahead.
So?
I don't know. At this point, it probably won't, but I'm hoping. I'm optimistic. Okay, now 4 is our stencil brush.
That's the 4 key.
Okay, now if you hit 3, so
That's
not to be confused with noise.
Yep.
So, all right, good. So that does work. So we have a stencil. Now this stencil is not to be confused with the procedural, and you just like falling through the train.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. We have it on video that can be played back.
We've got to redo this video.
No. No, I don't know what you're talking about. You never fell through the train. Now let's continue. Now the stencil that we pulled is alpha 1 because we've defaulted the value to be 1.
Right.
And I find that the soft edge brushes are more useful than the hard edge, so that's why I defaulted it to 1 as opposed to 0, which would have been the equivalent of a hard edge brush. Now we need to be able to cycle through our stencils, otherwise why bother? Now, where this code is going to live is going to be inside of Train Sculptor. Let me collapse everything down. And we have a handle sculpt tool. Yeah, let's see. I've got my handle sculpt tool and I've got my select sculpt tool. Which would I prefer? I'm thinking inside of handle sculpt tool because we're not exactly selecting the sculpt tool as a more, hold on, where am I at? This is a brush. This isn't a tool. Let's get back where we need.
These people could see me just sit here shaking my head.
Yeah. It's inside a handle brush. All right. Wow. Just for that, I'm going to my R&D, copying and pasting the code in, and we'll inside the video. Works for me. See what I got to put up with, folks? It's like this every day.
It is not.
It's
I know, even better.
Yeah. I was just trying to get them to feel sympathetic for me. Probably didn't.
Oh, I got you.
Now I'm trying to figure out where I put that code in my R&D. Because it's got to be around here somewhere. I know it does. Hey, I found it. All right, cool. So inside of handle brush, not to be confused with handle sculpt tool, because this is a brush, not a tool. We're going to do a check that's basically check the brush. And if the brush is a stencil brush, then go ahead and do the following checks. Because the cycling through stencils is only applicable to stencil brushes. So there's no point in doing it if it's anything but a stencil brush. So we're going to do a check that says if input dot get key down. Now I'm using key down because I do want to detect the latch. I don't want somebody to hit the key and just have it cycle through the stencils as fast as it possibly can.
Right.
That would make it a bit difficult to get the one you want. Now, the way I want to do this is I want the plus key to increase the current stencil ID and the minus key to decrement it. Now, there's not really a key code. Well, there is a key code .plus, but I don't want the person to have to hit the shift and the equal sign to get it. So I'm going to cheat and just say equals. So if key code hits equals, or is equals, or the numpad plus, or the keypad plus, then go ahead and do what is necessary to increase the our stencil ID. And to do that, we need to go stencil brush dot current
Do we now?
stencil ID plus plus. What?
There.
Do we now what?
I said there.
There what? You completely lost me. So projector, were you thinking something else again?
No, actually, no. I'm just bored.
Oh, just trying to see how much we could derail me at 5 o'clock in the morning. Got it. It doesn't take much, trust me. All right. We need to set the texture.
Do we?
Yes, we do. If you don't believe me, write it yourself. All right, so we're going to take the stencil and part of our shader, and we're going to set it to be equal to something. Brush.icon. At least I think so. All right, now I'm going to take this same bit of code, duplicate it, put an else in front of it because you're either going to be incrementing or decrementing. You're not going to be doing both. Oh, come on. Really? You can't pick that up. So it's going to be minus here. And keypad minus there. We need to decrement our numbers instead of incrementing it. And hopefully that will give us the ability to cycle through stencils. So if you go ahead and play it, I'll give you control.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
So it'd be interesting if you can get through all of the stencils without it exploding. Hey,
Yeah.
you did.
Yep.
Now if you go the other way
I
around.
already am.
Okay.
Yep. All
so we
working.
can go all the way around. Now how many brushes do you actually have?
How many brushes? Hang on.
So if you
So
start with the
one,
hard edge. Yep.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 5,000.
Sweet. Now the obligatory let's play with the new toys.
Yes. Sorry, one moment, please.
Yeah. While we scale this out, I'm going to put in all the mountain ranges on the entire terrain at one time. But notice, he's pointing out something that is fairly noticeable once we switch over to the stencil style brushes, the noise brush, and these stencil brushes, as you zoom out, they become pixelated.
Yeah, what do you say? We got a smooth tool. Ha ha. See, I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, that's what you always say.
What? Don't even.
Wow, it looks like one of Toastage's landscapes, just not all brown and gray.
I need opacity setting.
Yeah, that's coming.
I know it is.
Actually, it's there. You just have to change it in code.
Ah. Ta-da.
But while the stencil brushes are kind of cool, where they would be useful is if there's a very specific pattern that you wanted to apply, maybe like a crater.
Like these death pits. Everybody needs death pits. Ah. Oh, wait. Okay, that was a bad idea. Hang on. to fix that, I shall, yes, raise. Yay.
Yeah, that's not going to work well.
That's going to work fantastic because I'll hit stop. Okay, so we have all of our brushes.
Mm-hmm. But what I was saying is stencil brushes are really handy if there's a very specific pattern that you want to create as a feature on the train, or if you wanted to paint something in it, you wanted to look very specific, and that was not something that you could easily code out procedurally. Let's say you wanted to have a smiley face. You know, the circle part of the smiley face is pretty easy. The eyes are pretty good. But that mouth part would be kind of difficult. So that's where you would want to use a stencil brush. Mm-hmm. Not exactly saying that you should paint your train with smiley faces, but, you know, if you did.
Epic.
Yeah, it could be. So, but they have their purposes, which is why we now have a brush to do them. So your procedurals will be faster. Your stencils are for more control, but at really large scales, they do become pixelated, so you have to be aware of that. And the noise brush is just a really good way of going halfway between. And then once we get in the controls of being able to adjust the noise settings.
I did that on purpose because it was so good.
Yeah.
I did. But there's my shape.
Yep.
Anyways.
But, you know, out of all the brushes, the noise brush is my favorite.
Yeah. Well, these are both a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah.
All right. So is that pretty much wrap it up then for the implementation of the stencil brush?
Up to this point, yes.
Yeah. Fantastic. And that lets us get over into the cool stuff next, huh?
Wait, you're saying this isn't cool?
Yeah, it's definitely
I
cool.
mean, you know, the last 120, 140 videos just weren't cool enough for you? Is that what you're trying to say?
Boonk. What are you talking about? Oh, man. I still blew up. What's up with that? Dumb controller.
Yes, the character's controller is pretty bad. I can't believe we let you control things.
I can't either. Oh, that's horrible. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what you did to break the camera system.
I did an awesome job of it. Thank you. But we won't worry about that here. That's going to wrap this up. And then from here, we're going to be moving over into what will become more or less a bonus set of videos. And I'll explain.
I thought you said you didn't want to use the
They're not
word
going to be
bonus.
called bonus, but I do want them to be aware that we originally weren't going to add any of this stuff in. So it, in a sense, is bonus. It's just because we're thinking of our students out there, make this a little more exciting. So, you know, when they show off their results to friends and family, they'll be like, ooh, that's cool. But that will wrap up this video, and we'll catch you guys in the next one where we will begin a GUI implementation for controlling our different tools and brushes. Thanks a lot, everyone.